Hi there! Well, today's video is going to be a review of the Nars All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. This is actually a review that I did not anticipate bringing you. I thought that I was going to be doing a review for you on the YSL Touche Eclat Foundation. I had purchased that during a recent Sephora shopping trip, but when I got it home, despite having tried it in the store, the shade was way too light for me. I wanted to exchange that for my correct shade, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It's been back ordered. So I decided to visit my local Sephora, which doesn't carry YSL, but they did have this Nars foundation, and I didn't know anything about it, but after doing some swatching in the store, I was really excited about it. So I exchanged the YSL for this, and I think it was a really happy accident. I am so excited to bring you this review. I formed an opinion about this product really quickly, but I forced myself to wear it for a while because, you know, sometimes there can be bumps in the road, or there are things that you don't expect to come out, like maybe breakouts on your skin. So I decided that I needed to give it a fair shot of wearing it for a while, but now I feel like I am ready to bring you all of the information about it. So as always, let's start with some of the basics and my first impressions. This is $48 for 1 ounce of product. It's alcohol-free, oil-free, and fragrance-free. It's available in 20 shades, and I am in the shade Light 2 or Mont Blanc. The packaging is also quite substantial. This is a very heavy glass, probably not the most travel-friendly because it is a little bit weighty, but it does also come with a pump dispenser, which is really convenient, especially for this particular product. It is quite liquidy, so I think if it did not have a pump dispenser, it might come out a little bit too fast if you were just trying to tip the bottle into your hand. Now I'm going to do something today that I don't normally do and start off my review with the cons rather than the pros. And I'm doing this specifically because it does tie into the shade availability. This is a con for me, but I don't think it's a con of the foundation, which is another reason that I wanted to cover it up front. I have a hard time finding a shade match for me with Nars products. I've experienced this before with a couple other Nars products. One of them was the Nars Sheer Glow Foundation. I just got a sample of that. I never did purchase it because it wasn't a good foundation match for me. But also something I have purchased that was not a good shade match is the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. This is in the shade Light 3 Honey. It's always been workable because I've blended it with another concealer to make it the right shade. But this was always too peachy for me, and then the next shade up was too light, and I think that was either vanilla or custard. That was way too light, and this one's a little bit too peachy. So I never did find a good shade match. I'm having sort of a similar experience with this foundation. I did quite a bit of swatching of this in the store, and as a matter of fact, I went and picked out other foundations that I have used in the past or that I'm currently using. I swatched all of those on my hand, and then I put several different of the Nars foundations along beside of that, blended them all in and tried some different things to find out which would be the perfect match for me. So I did choose number Light 2 Mont Blanc. I kind of knew right away that it wasn't going to be the most perfect match for me, but it was workable. So when I got home and I actually applied this foundation for the first time all over my face, it is a little bit too light for me. That being said, I wouldn't do anything differently. I would not exchange this or return it. I think it's totally workable in this color, but I do wish there was a different shade option. Just to give you a little bit of reference, I am normally a MAC NW20. I am a Guerlain Lingerie de Peau number 2 or Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Plus in number 30. And I feel like with the Nars foundations, you're getting either something that's a little bit too light, or then I'm moving into something that's either too peachy or yellow. And I normally have a very beige or neutral undertone. So again, that's not something that I want to dissuade you from this product because that's something that's just personal to me. It's just not a good shade match for me, but that doesn't take away from how I feel about the foundation. The other con, since that's what I'm covering right now, is that while it does have a luminous in the name of it, I don't really find it to be luminous. I do agree with the full natural coverage and the 16-hour wear, but I don't really think there's anything luminous about it. I swatched this next to my Guerlain Lingerie de Peau, which is the most luminous foundation that I currently own, and the Lingerie de Peau was much more luminous than this. I do think it's a really beautiful natural coverage, but nothing really stood out to me as being luminous about that. So those are just the two cons that I wanted to cover up front, but I have way more pros about this that I want to go over with you. I knew right away that I love this foundation the first time that I wore it. Despite having a little bit of a shade match issue, it has been totally a pleasure to work with. So as I mentioned in the opening, this is a very liquidy foundation. You can really hear it in there. It does sound very watery, but that is so deceiving because this foundation is so lightweight yet full coverage. I've never experienced anything like it. I understand that it can be somewhat similar to the YSL Fusion Ink or the Giorgio Armani Maestro foundation, but I've not wore either one of those, so I don't have anything else to compare it to other than what I have used. And this is definitely the most lightweight, comfortable foundation I have ever worn, and the coverage that you get from this is just incredible. So I want to try to see if I can show you a little bit of an example of this. I am not going to be demonstrating it to you in the way that it's recommended. They actually recommend that you pump this out into the palm of your hand and then warm it up a little bit with your body heat. So you just pump a little bit into the palm of your hand and then kind of rub it around with your fingers and then apply it from there. This is one of those foundations that works really well by applying it with your fingers. I've been using a couple different methods. I like to use a brush. That's my preferred method. But on days when I want a quicker application, I have been using my fingers, and both work equally well. The one thing that I probably would not recommend is the Beauty Blender. When I used any type of beauty blender with this or some sort of blending sponge, it really absorbed a lot of the product and I just didn't like the coverage. I felt like I was getting a lot better full coverage finish when I use either my hands or a brush. So I'm going to show this to you on the back of my hand, just so I can show you the little bit of coverage. So when you pump this, not a whole lot of product comes out, but you don't need a lot. You're going to be so amazed at how well this covers. So I'm just going to pump a little bit out here. So that's what comes out with one full pump. You can literally cover a third or more of your face, maybe even half of your face with just this one little pump. So you just start blending and blending and blending, and it's incredible the coverage that you get from this foundation. I know that this might be really difficult to see, but the first time I used this, I put this on my face and I started blending it around, and it was covering my nose and then up onto the side of my face and down through my chin. And I was just amazed at the amount of coverage that you get from one tiny little pump of this product. So 2 of those small pumps is enough to cover my entire face with a nice full coverage. This is not a sheer coverage. It's not a heavy cake coverage. It's a very natural full coverage. But as I mentioned before, I don't get that luminosity that it would indicate in the name, but I'm very happy with the very natural appearance it gives. The other thing that I love about it, this does not settle into lines. I am so thrilled about how this wears even throughout the day. So I'm not really sure that I can give it a 16-hour coverage. I'm not really sure that I wear foundation for 16 hours a day. What I have done is apply it around 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I've removed it around 8 o'clock at night. And this is the first foundation that I've ever used that does not break down even in my most oily area of my face, which would be right here. Normally, toward the end of the day, you get a little bit of separation, or at least I do. The foundation starts to break apart a little bit, and then I definitely need some sort of powder or some way to blot that and kind of reapply it to get the coverage. Sometimes a little bit of redness will break through. Not with the Nars. This stuff wears, I wouldn't say exactly like when you applied it, because I do get a little bit of breakthrough shine, but the coverage is still there. I know that may sound kind of awkward to say, but you will get a little bit of breakthrough oiliness if you are oily prone, but you are still going to get a nice coverage. So if you have redness, for me, that redness is not coming through, even though there might be a little bit of shine. I am not getting nearly as much shine as I normally would, though, only in this most oily area. The rest of my face is staying very normal. I also do want to emphasize, I'm not sure that this is going to be a good foundation choice for someone with very dry skin. If you have normal to oily skin, I think that you'll be so pleased with this. But if you do have drier skin, because of the really intense long wear properties of it, I'm not sure that it's going to be a good choice for you. I think that you might need something with a little bit better moisturizing properties, or you might be able to try it, but really apply a good moisturizer to your face before. The other thing about this foundation that I cannot emphasize emphasize to you enough is just how incredibly comfortable and weightless it feels. So much so, in fact, that one day in the early days of testing out this product, I forgot that I was wearing it. And that's not something that I would be able to say about any other full coverage foundation I have ever worn. I was spending the day at home that day, so normally I won't wear anything on my skin just to give my skin a break. So I'd actually applied this foundation all over with my fingers and wanted to give myself a nice bit of coverage so I could really feel how it wore on my skin throughout the day. And by the end of the day, when I went to cleanse my skin, I forgot that I needed to do any makeup removal because I didn't even notice it was there. And that was just such a pleasant surprise for me, because normally with any other foundation, no matter how much I love it, by the end of the day, I am so ready to get that off my skin. My skin is oily in areas, so the foundation starts to feel a little heavier, a little bit thicker, and by the end of the evening, I am so ready to take a makeup removing towelette and just wash my face and get that off so that my skin can feel light and it can breathe again. I think it's also less noticeable because it doesn't settle into my lines or wrinkles. So my lines and wrinkles are still there. It doesn't really diminish their appearance, but it certainly doesn't emphasize them by being too heavy or uncomfortable. So to wrap up this review and go over some of my main points, I do give the Nars All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation a Le Beauty Bag Bravo. I am thoroughly impressed and totally comfortable in recommending this product. I can honestly tell you this is my current favorite foundation. I am just so happy to have purchased it. I didn't know anything about it going into it, and I am so overall impressed. I love the coverage of it. I like that it requires a very small amount of product to get that really nice full coverage. I love the way that it holds up throughout the day. I like that I'm only getting a minimal amount of shiny breakthrough in my most oily areas, but that even at that, I'm not getting any breakdown in the foundation. It still gives me a nice bit of coverage. I think if you have normal to oily skin, this is going to be a great option for you. If you are sensitive to certain ingredients like alcohol or fragrance or oil, again, probably a really good option for you. If you do have dry skin, you might proceed with caution, and know that if you are of a fair skin tone like I am with a neutral to beige undertone, finding your right shade match might be a little bit more difficult, but I still do think it's something worth sampling and giving a try. I think that you'll find that this foundation is so comfortable and it's going to be so flattering even on mature skin, because it does not have the tendency to settle into lines and wrinkles, and it's going to feel so good, especially throughout a long day. If you're someone that needs to put on a foundation early in the morning and have it look good throughout the day and you want it to feel comfortable on your skin, I really do think this is something worth checking into. So that is my review. I hope that you found it helpful. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.